Okay, let's get started. Good morning.
Oh, yes.
What? Okay.
My friend and mentor, Rick Masden, who wrote the song Let It Be a Dance, who's in the, we used to call him the UU Troubadour. He would make fun of everyone at this point and say, why are you sitting over there? Why are you back there? There's one person back there. What, are you waiting to see if the guy's any good or not before you, Oh, let's celebrate. For we have this life ever rising up. We can drink of a peace from the ever-flowing cup. We have vision when we trust our hearts. Surrender to the dance and let the magic start. For we have a spirit to live well and long. Bonds of humanity rooted deep and strong. Sorrow and anger fade and love will win when we open up and let the magic in. We have powers, we have feelings, we have learning, we have healing, we have imagination, and we have art. Surrender to the dance and let the magic start. For we have love, the great mystery that surrounds our fears and sets us free. For only love can mend the wounded heart, if only we will let the magic start. Nosotros todos a forza do querer, basta começar, a paz renascerá. Então seremos imensa multidão, na magia deste arte de viver. We have love, the great mystery that surrounds our fears and sets us free. For only love can mend the wounded heart, if only we will let the magic start. Nosotros todos a força do querer, basta começar, a paz renascerá. Então seremos imensa multidão, na magia deste arte de viver. La 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 la. Good morning, everybody. Okay, pick a place way back in the back.
What a beautiful prelude. I didn't realize there were words. It's just lovely. Good morning. Welcome to First Parish Church in Billerica, a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation. Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you're welcome here this morning. And we hope you'll come and join us in coffee and conversation after the service down in the parish hall. My name's Brita Learned. I'm head of the worship committee, and I'm going to just be the worship assistant here for today's service. Our worship leader, as you just heard, is a wonderful musician. Oh my goodness. Composer.
He just shut off his phone, so everybody.
Oh yes, please turn off electronic devices. Composer, guitarist, singer Jim Scott. His songs are in our hymnals. He wrote Gather the Spirit, which we all know and love. He was a member of the Paul Winter Concert. He's just done so much. He helped create the Green Sanctuary program. It just goes on and on. He's just amazing. I believe you have CDs available for people.
If anybody still has a way to play CDs.
After the service.
And other things, you can books, a flash drive.
Get some wonderful music. As we start our service, We are aware that First Parish was built on the unceded land of the Pawtucket and Massachusetts, I'm not saying this right, people, and we acknowledge the responsibility we have to honor their memory. Are there any announcements?
Hi, I'm Teresa. I have a lot of announcements. So tonight is the overdose vigil in the town common at 6 p.m. It's hosted by the Billerica Substance Use Awareness and Prevention Committee. Each year we gather at sunset to mourn and to remember loved ones lost to overdoses and to acknowledge all those touched by this epidemic. Our Cups chapter invites all members and friends to their annual Day of the Dead celebration. The ritual and feast takes place on November 1st, beginning at 7 p.m. If you have questions or would like to participate, please contact Katie Shubin or Trek Reef. November 5th is our first open mic since the pandemic. All members are invited to participate or come enjoy the show. Setup and sign up begins at 3:30. Sets are limited to about 5 minutes, and see Bob Ledger for any questions, details, or if you would like to help. Our Interfaith Thanksgiving is coming up on November 21st. It will be a catered lunch instead of a potluck, so we won't be asking for your help cooking, but we definitely still need your help with setup. We hope that you attend and join our siblings of faith in a community meal. And speaking of Thanksgiving, Reverend Catherine Adams of the First Congo would like to bring back the tradition of serving Thanksgiving dinner to families within Billerica. We have a lot of new people in our town who may have never experienced a traditional Thanksgiving, and this event can only happen with your help. So please let Jeannie Landers know if you're interested in helping, or reach out to Catherine Adams directly. There's also a flyer on our bulletin board with more details. And the week after Thanksgiving is one of our largest events of the year. The Billerica Holiday Festival will be on December 2nd. First Parish throws open our doors and welcomes the community in for free hot dogs, hot apple cider, and ornaments to decorate as keepsakes. Last year, more than 300 kids came in, and we hope for a larger crowd this year. Hopefully the weather definitely will be better. Bob will be in charge of hot dogs, but we need volunteers to help serve cider, assist children with the craft, and other miscellaneous tasks. It's a fun day, and I hope to see you from 2 to 5 p.m. that day. If you're interested in singing Christmas carols, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Choir has an open invitation to all musically talented folks. If you would like to sing or perform in the Christmas concert, again, let Jeannie Landers know, and she can facilitate the introduction. We also have a great lineup for the Meeting House Fair and Soup Fest on December 9th. We have 9 vendors now who have paid, sent in their applications, so it's going to be a good showing. You can support local businesses, have a soup and sandwich for lunch, and enter to win a raffle item. Will be from 10 to 3 on Saturday, December 9th. And if those events aren't enough to get you excited, maybe more intellectual pursuits are your thing, you can join Reverend Steve for theology class on the first Saturday of the month, or our UU writing group on the first Monday of the month. The first meeting of my book club went really well, and if you're interested, November's book is Punch Me Up to the Gods by Brian Brom, and we'll discuss it on November 18th. And last but not least, Brida's belly dancing workshop continues for only 3 more sessions. If I did not cover your announcement, or if it's not in your insert, please send it to admin@uubillerica.org, or grab a form on the bulletin board in the parish hall and leave it on my desk. Thank you.
That was a lot. Any other announcements? Okay, we'll light our chalice.
We're busy here. Well, Rita will handle the sacred matches while we, if you might read with me, if we've given you this piece of paper, written large enough for us all to read, I hope. this chalice lighting that I wrote with a workshop, collectively wrote with a workshop at Star Island, at our Star Island. Let's read the first part all together. Fire of life, cleanse our spirits with heat and flame. Illuminate our path towards beloved community. Light the way of love and peace. Take our vessels to the flame, and from the kiln be raised anew. Let this be our mantra, melt our pain and burn away confusion. Ignite our passion and spark our voice. Draw us close to your hearth, warm our souls. Blessed be. Amen. To quote Pete Seeger, ah, women and men. I love playing this song. I wrote this song in a desperate attempt to get something into the Gray Hymn Book back about 1990, and it got in. And I travel the country, the world, it seems. This is also in the UK hymn book, and so in the UK and Australia, it is really amazing. People know this song. We may stand as willing and able. I am going to sit down because I forgot to bring the strap to hold up the guitar to stand up with. So. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion for hymns even.
That was beautiful. Can we all say together our affirmation of faith, which is found in your order of service? Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Even when I don't see a lot of people under 21 in front of me, I like to put a kids song in a program because kids songs are sneaky. You can sing about all kinds of values in a kids song and not scare anybody, you know. You can sing about sharing and nobody calls you a communist and like that. So I wrote this song when I went to Nicaragua in 1984. That's a long time ago. And I met all these kids. And they speak mostly Spanish. I speak mostly English, but we gestured and smiled a lot and made peace pretty well, I think, because kids know how to do that. Because we tell them, right? And send them off to school unarmed, hopefully, and say, make friends, right? And they do. That's amazing. You make more friends, you get more peace. With my first verse in Spanish, expect you all to sing along. Well, I think I'd like to be your friend. I think that we could really have some fun. A real companion is so much better than pretend, and games are better played by more than one. So I think I'd like to be your friend. You look sort of different from me, and I guess that I was not too sure about you. But if you like the way the different colored flowers go together, well, I guess that goes for people too. And I'd like to be friends with you. You see, I'm kinda new in this school, church, and I don't know a lot about your town. I don't know all your language, but I can play it cool. This making new friends is not as bad as it sounds. You know, I'm kinda fun to have around. I can be serious, or I can be a clown. I can make you wanna giggle when you're wearing a frown. Well, it's too much trouble to be nasty, I've found. Porque quiero ser tu amigo y tengo otros amigos que vas a conocer. Una vez que empecemos no se sabe cuándo acabará, pero es maravilloso ver el círculo crecer, que todos nuestros amigos sean amigos. What did he say? Well, I think I'd like to be your friend, and there's other friends I'd like you to know. Once we start, there's no telling just where it all will end, but it's great to see the circle grow. And we'll get all of our friends to be friends. We won't have to be afraid when we're friends. No, we won't want to fight when we're friends. And if kids can do it, well, maybe grown-ups can be friends. We'll get the whole world to be friends. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Well, if we had such kids, would then now be processing off to go do something more interesting. But we're delighted that any young people will tolerate this for the and hang with old people for the rest of the day, for the rest of the service. well-behaved, mature kids are welcome to stay for the whole time.
That's a beautiful, beautiful song.
Thank you. You don't have to say that every time I sing a song.
Well, I feel like...
Thank you. What's going to happen on the one she doesn't say that?
Oh, no. This is a time in our service when we invite those who wish to come and share a joy or concern. Of course, you don't have to say it out loud if you don't want to. And we'll light a candle for each joy and concern that you share.
There's not one big long sermon in this program this morning. I have a couple of stories to tell. I write songs, and I have words left over, so I write stories as well, and letters to the editor and things like that. I'd like to read you a couple of stories this morning. The theme for the day is peace, and I call it a healing for the world. I've studied a good deal of Marshall Rosenberg and the study of nonviolence and peacemaking. And you'll see, I'll mention it later, that I was, a long time ago, in the Army. And I've been a peacenik pretty much ever since, and looking for the alternatives to so many of the things that seem to be happening right now in the world. We're focusing on what we might call predominantly white conflicts in the Ukraine and in Israel, but there are conflicts of people of color in Africa, Asia, and we know what causes wars. Colonialism, that is theft, and racism, and tribalism, and religious differences get thrown in there. Usually that's the cover that is the war between the haves and the have-nots. So we know what causes these things, and we know that we keep causing them. Not just if we want to blame an aggressor somewhere else, but our lives depend on that elitism, that privilege that we get as a result of the power of war and violence. You don't make peace shopping at the big box store. That is the recipient of a lifetime of centuries of violence. That's the reason you can buy that thing so cheap, because somebody didn't get paid for it. So I'm going to stop talking about that, and I'm going to read you a story. But thank you for listening. This is called Relativity. Driving a bit too fast, I maneuver the curves on this cement ribbon deep at the feet of solemn giants. 2 hours past the Portland Bridge in a dreary Washington drizzle, I've made good time, as they say, in the company of huge Douglas fir bodies carted on tractor-trailer hearses. The procession draws little obvious response from their stoic relatives lining I-5 for the occasion. Aside from my discomfort at being associated with this funeral, I do feel always a distinct northward impetus passing the dead Trojan nuclear reactor that's sedated, would be more like it, that still sulks across the Columbia River in Oregon. Now the speed limit has dropped to 55, but I'm following an aggressive sporty type and struggling to keep up in my larger minivan body. We are in more company, and then more. Traffic through the Olympia area brings the shock of sudden overpopulation. Musing about whether we belong here in the first place, I'm now distracted by the necessity to respond to the whims of so many humans and their heavy armor. The lines are drawn, but survival of the fittest is more the rule. Some vague force ahead, though, is influencing our progress. I'm reminded of the Hindu story of following God up the hill. In single file, travelers can only see the back of the one immediately ahead, and only when the path curves do they see a glimpse of the divinity right in front of them. They can't see God for the human in the way. Over a hill in a sweeping curve to the right, I can see what has bunched us up. A state police cruiser going exactly 60. And ahead, no one. A great expanse of empty interstate. United only in our disregard now for this particular law, we are a seething army of bees, hardly swarming in anger, or with any outward purpose for that matter. My interference runner has led us right into the hot politics of the honey-drunk comb. And for the moment, he's nowhere to be found. But then turns up between the Safeway truck and the pickup that shouts, owned by an American, protected by Smith & Wesson. Always steel beasts wear our affiliations on our hindquarters and manage more congeniality than our bumpers might suggest. We coexist in a not so volatile as carbonated mix, bubbling under the benign disinterest of our state-appointed cork. He could hardly respond to us in a mass arrest. All right, everybody, pull over. But we have broken the law to get up here. We're now relatively secure in our sheer numbers. Not that much more impersonal than those big rooms where we all wear name tags and make no eye contact. The goddess is alive rolls right beside "Don't blame me, I voted for Trump." More likely to be inflammatory locally, "Save a logger, shoot a spotted owl," shares the road, ignoring Earth first. "Live by your hopes, not your fears," goes boiling up through the brew, only to redefine his specific gravity right under the cruiser's surface tension. Some of the leadership potential seem to be stricken with conscience at the top and choose to fade back into the anonymity of the depths. I've done that. This headlong flight of technological revolution toward oblivion monopolizes our concentration, with only the frail dome-lighted beacon of common sense and restraint holding back the flood for today. All but fleeting glimpses of that freedom up ahead and the natural beauty beside is obscured by our self-imposed steel environment. And once our competitive motivations wear off, we travel at exactly the same speed, appearing to each other to be sitting together in a theater at a boring show. Now, this is the phenomenon Einstein warned us about. Or was it Heisenberg? Since we are always moving, we are incapable of fully appreciating our relativity to each other, much less our greater direction. Here, rolling down a ribbon, on a shifting continent, on a spinning planet, tearing through space, in an expanding universe that may be in fact somewhere folding in on itself. We should savor this moment. Suddenly, though, with lights flashing, the cruiser roars away, within seconds disappearing over the next hill, leaving us in shock to refocus on the ancient pro-choice and I vote Volvo, now expelling a good deal of steam and smoke from under the hood. No one stops to commiserate as the Volvo retires to the breakdown lane. Communion over, we're back to our own personal trajectories, choosing between military base exits and continuing north into Tacoma or west over the Narrows on Galloping Gertie Bridge. Now, could we have behaved differently? And might we, in our magnetism, have influenced each other? Unburdened by compassion for our fleeting community, most of us are free again to dream of destination. Though the truth is, this may be all that life really has to offer. The journey. Soaring beyond doubt over Earth's solemn gravity, in noisy migration, still they long for their rest. Sun-kissed their wings as they carve the sky eternal, looking to the night when they'll sleep in their nest. Voyagers heed signs written on the wide horizon. From their third dimension, find the secrets they seek. Quest for nobility, sustenance, serenity, beckons to the brave as it comforts the meek. So may we see over barriers and borderlines a bond of all beings of the earth, land, and sea, dreaming the world where each life is truly valued, rendering a justice that restores humanity. Spirit of the earth, spirit of the never-ending, from the third dimension, seeing straight to the heart. Spirit moving always just beyond our understanding. In the greater dance, may we each play our part. Thank you. You can do that. I always like to say, if you do that faster, it sounds like there's more people. I'd like to just paraphrase that song a little bit. I have this recollection that maybe I sang it here before when I had first written it. Anybody remember that? And I was saying I saw the herd, the geese, Canada geese flying over and making a lot of noise. And there were a lot of them over in Shrewsbury, Worcester, and Lake Quinsigamond, and a couple other ponds, and there's a reservoir just north of there. They like coming there, and there's a respite place there, a rest stop for the geese, I guess. So I was. It brought me to musing about something that I remember from way back. A Unitarian Universalist minister, John DeWolf Hurt, speaking of peace marchers, he said, "These peace marchers have seen the third dimension." Meaning, we got two down here on the ground, I mean, we got three, but it's kind of over here, over there. I can't get over there because there's a wall. I can't see over there because of, something like that. But when you rise up there or look from the third dimension, you get a whole different perspective. And that space, I guess, to give ourselves that space. And I think it's maybe why we come together on a Sunday too, to take this space to just reflect on things, get into a peaceful place where we can reflect is one word. I can't. There's other vocabulary words that are evading me right at this moment. But muse about these things. I'm going to sing the second verse again. The first verse, if you was soaring, and the Voyagers see signs, and from their third dimension they see this. Well, here, I'll just sing you the second verse again. I know you were paying attention the first time, but so may we see over barriers and borderlines a bond of all beings of the earth, land, and sea, dreaming the world where each life is truly valued, rendering a justice that restores humanity. Spirit of the earth, spirit of the never-ending, from the third dimension, seeing straight to the heart. Spirit moving always just beyond our understanding. In the greater dance, may we each play our part. I'm going to warn you, this gets a little heavy. At Ron's memorial service, there were two Rons remembered. There was the quiet activist I admit I only slightly knew and was aware of, going to schools through Veterans for Peace, reading his poetry, speaking personally, eloquently, to save even one young person from considering the choice of war as viable. I will add here, I used to live in Eugene, Oregon. If I'm talking about some West Coast addresses as I do this. Others eulogized a different, perhaps earlier, Vietnam veteran Ron, bitter, angry, hard to deal with. I'm sure all those elements still smoldered in the blues-loving dancer on his one good leg that made poetry of war. And was it good poetry or mediocre? It was the truth of his personal witness, giving credible voice in well-crafted phrases that touched on sorrow, pain, anger, and madness. It was beyond critique. When the Calc House, that's the clergy and laity concerned house, closed down, Ron moved up the Mackenzie River and made a life in peaceful surroundings with meditation spots. Though he withdrew from his school activism, friends remembered him as a continued presence for peace wherever he was, which was mostly in the hot springs. He cleaned the pools and just hung out, a good listener on any subject, hardly ever war, and for that matter, anything approaching self-promotion. He died at the time a year younger than I. The battle that raged in him wells up in me again. I never figured out if I deserved to have an opinion or feeling about it. I never left the country after basic training, but there were the promising boys that I lost touch with. Did they die? How many? I never asked. The tunnel vision of my own survival mechanism. In this day and age where most everyone throws out the politically correct "thank you for your service" to any uniformed soldier we see, it's happened to me, always to my surprise. As if for some reason I insert that I was in the Army at some point. Back in that other time, the idea proliferated that wearing a uniform could bring accusations of baby killer from a jerk nearby. Such was the norm, as some would claim. The fact that was pretty well proven to be false. It was invented several years after the time that was being spoken of, and a promising, that's not the right word, enterprising journalist went back and looked, it must have been in the newspapers somewhere that people called the returning veterans baby killers or were hostile to them. And it just never happened. It never happened. It was invented later. But it's now in the folklore that conservatives, shall I call it, use to denigrate the counterculture. What was happening was a revolution inside the military. People refused to fight. They either declared themselves conscientious objectors, or they went nuts, and they also got on drugs. It was mostly that the uniform made one invisible. I remember walking down an American street as though no one exactly knew what to say, to include this being in with humanity that we recognized. Though we were individuals for the war or against the war, that didn't affect our brother-sisterhood. When you saw another uniform, you didn't see a stranger. We all knew we were surrounded by lies and corruption, for that matter. Yet there was some vision of a just society and a sense of duty that bound us together, crazy as we might have thought we were from time to time. The morning paper might be filled with some politician's latest lies, but the policeman, fireman, soldier, teacher, postal worker still gets up and goes to work to make and maintain the world that we believe in. We hope it's not just in our imagination. I never left the country. I got a 6-month early discharge courtesy of Richard Nixon's Vietnamization of the war and troop reduction. The translation of that cynical public relations manipulation was thousands of young men were coming back from their year abroad in a 2-year hitch. First 6 months, probably training, maybe a month off. Then they go to Vietnam, and they come back with 5 or 6 months left. Combat duty had promoted them to a higher rank, so they should be given a job. Drug addiction promoted their not giving a damn about anything. The Army had no jobs to give those malingerers, and they didn't want them around. There was no drug program. I simply ran out the back door they were being dumped out of. Since then, I've been hesitant to take a position as one directly affected, while my peers are steadily dying before their time. In this hour, we can pretty much predict that a veteran will kill him or herself. 22 a day. More Vietnam veterans have died of suicide in the years after the war than are on the wall in Washington. Ron didn't commit suicide. His heart broke and stopped. He'd appeared to be winning the battle with lingering demons, finding his personal refuge that brought him peace. But his dentist brought a light to another side. Ron's teeth had been progressively ground down to almost nothing. Ron and the dentist had made several applications to the VA. The disability came just after he died. Mr. McNamara's book, An Apology, didn't come early enough for Ron either. It didn't come soon enough for me, or for many, I imagine. I pray it has come soon enough for someone, and that there's still time for lives to change, still time for healing. For those who died too soon, but not soon enough for that wall in Washington, I think there should be another wall. In my mind, if nowhere else, for I'm healed a bit by remembering him. There was a certain way of saying, sorry about that, in the Vietnam War context. Sorry about that. For any event from tragedy to minor disappointment, it summed up all the cynicism, rage, and denial into humor and delivered with this flat expression, decoded into compassion beyond words between vets. Between soldiers, there was an "I've been there." It amounted to hugs, tears, and a 21-gun salute. We'll remember that you were a whole lot more than a Vietnam vet, Ron. Your life was rich. You touched many, and you left too soon. Sorry about that. I am waiting in the silence. I am waiting for the dawn. I am often found in reverence, though from many sources drawn. It is not mine to fight for justice, for it will not be won this day. I am peace, and I am waiting for the lost to find their way. You'll not find me set in judgment of the vain or of the weak, but I rise to meet the weary with the solace that they seek. Still I have not fed the hungry, nor strewn wealth among the poor. I am peace, and bring but mystery, and the patience to endure. I cannot save the suffering from their anger and their pain. Only open doors of insight, so the healing comes again. To the proud I am elusive, to the humble I am near. May the broken rise and look beyond the trappings of their fears. I am found among the seasons, autumn's death and spring's rebirth, as relentless their momentum as the turning of the earth. All are welcome in my presence, for only love can conquer hate. I am peace, and for the harvest I have planted and will wait. Thank you. I've been told that the path to peace includes being able to see things from another perspective. I've already, what's that word I wanted? Paraphrased my song about the third dimension. A picture on a flat sheet is two-dimensional, height and width, and we have illusions to represent other perspectives, depth and texture and connections, and that's the art of it, Of course, we find art entertaining, fascinating, and to see how those illusions are created and what's called perspective. Lauren Isley wrote a wonderful story about meeting a bird quite by mistake. She was secure in her fluid world of updrafts and down, though vision on this day was limited by fog and impending darkness. Suddenly, she bumped into a ground feeder, a man, the author, high for him on a tower rooftop. She was not even near the bottom of her ocean of air. How shocked they both were to meet when their nearly separate worlds collided. These elusive beings flying above us, coming to rest in our trees or bird feeders, are subjects, submissive, mostly out of our way. An immigrant refugee family or homeless person might shock us as well when their world and ours suddenly collide. Our response, as if to a misguided bird, is you can appeal to our compassion, our generosity, but we'll get mad if you question our preeminence, our entitlement. We'll want to exterminate anything that threatens our preeminence. We don't need much perspective in the comfortable, addicting, two-dimensional world, getting flatter all the time. And handheld, that wants to colonize us now. All we have to do is keep buying beer cans, cars, poisons for the lawn, leaf blowers, even water packaged in plastic. And we'll build up the great economy. My mother turned over a pitchfork full of compost, and it was not a solid floor, this earth, but a life that lived on top of another world, that I lived on top of another world. My father sat with me on a hilltop camp near North Adams, western Massachusetts, as we watched the sun sink below the horizon. Of course, it's the other way around. But you could see it move, almost. You could feel that earth moving, backing away from the sun, slowly, half as fast as the minute hand on the clock. Those were lessons in perspective, in that mystical perspective that the artist pursues and labors to illuminate. We've all had them. I collect them. Whenever you get a bunch of white people together, like in a UU church, unless those people are willing to work really hard, you create something exclusive. The natural tendency to be comfortable, close our eyes, and for us folks with the privilege of education who have bought into language and verbal description, it's easy to believe that reality is nuts and bolts, logistics and practicalities, prescriptions, words. But what can explain the image of forgiveness, compassion, understanding, or grace in the face of abject poverty? We turn to philosophers and poets who invoke the extra perspective in visionary mythology. I do think we need to be a lot more vigilant that this haven, the UU Church, doesn't become an insulated, exclusive place where few are comfortable. It's not a matter of sacrifice of deprivation and other things. If beauty and health are our real standard of living, we can create more of that, not less. The cultural wealth of diversity and support of a healthy community. We should not forget that many of us come here for our own healing, for our own healing. I, for one, do that. We can also talk about the healing of the world. Our behavior is determined, I read, by three perspectives. As children, we quickly learn if you do something and something bad will happen if you do certain things. A negative motivation, level 1. The 10 commandments say, don't do this, don't do that. But then this guy, Jesus of Nazareth, in his Sermon on the Mount, he gave us his Beatitudes. If you do this, you'll be blessed. Blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the merciful, and blessed are the meek. Well, and there's more. And then there's the idea, the third level, that our good works live on after us. That the third behavior motivation is what's good for all is good for me. And maybe it won't even be me, but it'll be my children who will benefit. This is the third dimension, enlightenment, or we might call it higher consciousness. When we see only two dimensions, dualities, positions of victim and perpetrator, we can't get to the healing. This is where art comes in. The amazing thing about art, or a song, or a play, is it allows us to see someone else's perspective, even if we didn't agree with it. What is held up, we have to look at it and receive and honor, perhaps. So let's make an art of our lives, an art of our arguments. If you make it rhyme, people will remember it. But that's only one way. Beyond rules, the health and energy balance that can only be described in poetry. Let's aspire to that perspective, to the horizon and beyond. So as we celebrate today, this life support system, shall we call it, of peacemaking, and this life support system of our Mother Earth, let's take a moment to reflect on and contribute to this more immediate life support system, the work of this church community. And that means take the offering. I will multitask and sing you this last song as we take the offering, and after you practice detachment, you can join in and help us sing this song. And may your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light, then softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May fears be turned with keen insight to wisdom for what's just and right. Where sorrow grows, compassion strong. May pains will pass before too long. May the bounds of our diversity serve a richer harmony. May courage hold your heart so true to smile on love when it smiles on you. And may your life be as a song. This chorus is written on your order of service if you have it, and it's written in the Teal Hymn Book, number 1059. And I think we have it for folks on the internet too, right? Try it. And may your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light, then softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. Now this turns into a round, ha ha ha, so I know somebody can put in that second part. You know who you are, or we'll just imagine it. And may your life be as a song resound, and may your life to sing awake the light, then softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night, ever dancing circles in the night, ever dancing circles in the night. So how do we, I have just this one more thing to say. This is the problem. I write songs and I have words left over. I love coming to visit this church. This is maybe the third time in about a span of a year. So lovely to come here to this sanctuary. But also I've come to a couple of peace rallies and vigils here. Thank you for doing a drug overdose vigil tonight. I have played for 5 years at least for the drug overdose vigil that happens in Worcester at City Hall. Second only to I don't know who's first and who's second. Drugs and guns are killing our young people beyond anything reasonable, and we have the ways to deal with that. I invite us to find that and fight for it, fight peacefully for it. Drug companies, some of those people should be in prison. Okay, I said my opinion, and thank you for listening. So this is where art comes in. Creativity is the alternative to violence. Creativity is the alternative to addiction, to hopelessness. Stories with universal values that anyone can understand transport us to see the depth of all dimensions, that I keep using that figure of speech. So let our stories not be a flat epitaph on a grave, but a living compost heap that nurtures new life with that experience. Not to be relegated to the junk heap or the museum, but to be fertile ground from which all hope can spring eternal. And let's reconvene for communion at coffee hour. I thought you were going to do that while I was saying that. I will mention the chalice. We will extinguish our chalice. Our time together comes to an end, and the service begins.